You mean when I die, the state places a secret lien on my house? Hi, I'm attorney Steve Reilly, and I'm a Connecticut attorney. And today, we are going to talk about what are called tax purposes only estates and the state of Connecticut's ability to file what is called an Inchoate succession tax lien on your house. And what that is all about is this, is that when somebody passes away, there's a law in Connecticut, it's actually 12-398 subsection D, which states that there shall be a lien upon the real property of a deceased for any potential estate taxes that might be due. So for the vast majority of Connecticut residents, there is no estate tax due because of the enormous amounts of credits. But despite that, the state still, by law, has this inchoate or undeveloped, or it was at least once called secret lien on my house that you have to deal with. So in other words, if you just have a house and you have no other assets and that house is in survivorship between you and your spouse, and you pass, your spouse still has to go and file an estate tax return with the local probate court where you reside, where the deceased resided. And once there is a determination that there is no estate tax due, then the probate court is empowered under the law to issue a release of that inchoate estate tax lien. Now you might think, well, what happens if I don't file this estate tax return? What happens? All right, well, first of all, if you don't, and then if you subsequently try to sell your house, no one's going to buy it until that lien is released. Or if you try to go out and get an equity loan, or you completely refinance your loan, the lender is going to require that that lien be released, because otherwise they could be behind, or potentially behind, that lien. Now, the lien is not only for succession taxes that might be due or estate taxes that might be due. It's also for any probate court fee that might be charged on your estate. So, even though you file this succession tax return with the local probate court and there is no estate tax return due, is there a fee due to the probate court? Well, you guessed it. The answer is yes. And that fee is determined on a sliding scale depending upon a couple of factors. And basically, it's based on what the total of your gross taxable estate is for that's filled out on the return. And you take that amount of taxes that's filled on the return, and there's a percentage that's applied to it in order to determine what the tax is. Now, should you have a case against someone for negligently causing your death, your estate tax return will have to include those damages which are taxed up to a certain amount, but you get to deduct your hospitalization and medical expenses that were paid in order to get that, minus any of your attorney's fees or costs that you incurred in order to get that judgment of someone that caused your death wrongfully. So they add that in. But also on your estate tax return, it's not just your house that goes on that return. It's anything that you had, whether it be sole ownership assets. Well, it's less than, it'd be a TPO estate now. It would be one that does not have to be opened, as they call it. And open means you have to have like more than $40,000 of sole ownership assets in order to do that. Opening simply means that it's subject to creditors in the 150-day time period that you have to wait in order to close the estate for creditors to have a crack at your assets. But let's back to the fee now. The fee is actually not as much as you'd imagine, but it is significant depending upon what you consider to be a significant amount. So it's a sliding scale up to a maximum of $40,000, depending upon how much of your assets that you had when you passed away. But if you had no sole ownership assets at all and everything you owned is joint, it's called in Connecticut, again, a tax purposes only estate, or TPO estate. And unfortunately, the statute allows for a lien to be placed for those probate court fees, as well as any potential taxes are due, so that you end up having to get that release, so it costs you money anyway. That's a common thing that people think when they do a revocable living trust, that they avoid probate totally. No, they don't. They still have to file an estate tax return, especially where you have realty, and you have to get that estate tax inchoate, or secret lien, released. Well, if you found this video valuable, then I would ask if you could please just consider clicking on the thumbs up button and give it a thumbs up. Also, if you're interested, to subscribe to this channel, and also click the bell so you can be notified of future videos when I put them out. Also, it also will help to spread them across so other people could see them. It would help enhance that ability. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and again, thank you for watching.